Hey, Riders, Eric here. Also with me, Garrett Galvin, our videographer and great teammate. And he wanted to walk through some questions that have been asked in the comments section below some of the previous videos. So between the two of us, I guess you'll be asking the questions and maybe together we can answer them.
So the first one, do you transport in gear or in neutral, and why?
Transport a bike in gear or neutral?
Yeah.
I think the obvious choice is in gear, while the strapping and blocking and chalking of the bike should stop it from moving any direction. Yeah, it not only makes sense to have it in gear just to prevent movement, but also then when you're backing the bike down or rolling it off, you've already got that gear or the transmission and the engine available to use the clutch and slip the clutch, sort of like a rear brake.
Yeah, I think it's
a no-brainer to have it in gear.
That's the best point being made right there.
I'm sure at some point I probably had a bike in neutral, was backing it down off of a ramp, and I thought it was in gear and therefore didn't have that sort of clutch braking ability. So in gear for sure. How
do you cope with fatigue during those long journeys and stay in optimal health?
One, I have to because it's my job.
Yeah.
I can't be tired in the middle of a tour and take a break. You know, in general, I guess fitness before your tour probably goes a long way. Eating well, it's going to sound like a sort of obvious thing, but eating well, hydration, probably a really big thing. You can bonk, especially in hot weather, all that air moving around you, you're dehydrating so much faster than we probably realize. And so staying hydrated is a huge thing. And then in certain situations, if it's hot enough and you're sweating enough, getting some electrolyte replenishment for me is really important.
Yeah.
It can't just be water and flushing all that out.
Personally, I think a lot of times like the whole staying in peak shape or, how to cope with fatigue and staying in optimal health. A lot of times like optimal health is looked at as like, you have to do this like 1 hour run or something like that. Or like, I don't know, 2 hour gym sesh, like on the road. Like for me personally, I've seen the best results and the most success in just doing 20 push-ups and 20, what is it when you sit down and get up and sit down? Squats.
I thought you were going to say being lazy. Yeah.
No, getting off the couch and sitting back down. No, I've seen just something bare minimum, like 20 push-ups a day and 20 squats is actually enough to keep you in shape. Just whatever. Just, stay limber, loosen up,
keep
your
metabolism going, keep it up. Probably the other biggest, best things for endurance are making sure you've got gear that keeps you reasonably comfortable. If you're fighting the cold, you're freezing or you're wet or whatever, that can be a calorie robber and an exhaustion factor. Also, pretty much every itinerary we've designed, pretty much there's like a rest day every 4 or 5 days, at least for some routes. And so having a rest day, I'm not trying to say I'm going to ride all day, every day for the next 20 days, fighting the winds out there, doing whatever it is, respecting that ultimately we probably need a little break every once in a while.
Next question is from Cold Gecko. Seen you wear a neck brace from Alpenstars. I get so confused when reading about them. Some say they are dangerous. Others say to wear them. So confused. 10 years ago, I bought Liet and ditched it because of comfort. Can you do a video on this or comment on your use? This is a big one.
Long question.
Yeah, it's a long question.
I'm curious why they what was it? The
Cold Gecko.
Cold Gecko. Let us know, what was it that was uncomfortable? They said ditched it because it was uncomfortable. I'm not sure. So I've never had even slightly a comfort issue with wearing the neck brace, which is not a toilet seat around my neck, by the way.
Oh, that's coming.
Somebody
that's the next comment.
It's getting a little old and yellowed. It kind of looks like a toilet seat at this point. But I've never had a comfort issue. About the only time I don't like that neck brace is if I'm like, having to bend it down. So I don't keep it. It has and comes with straps, I think, where you can kind of put it under your armpit and keep it held down. But like it'll float up. If I invert my upper body, it will sort of start falling down and I might have to regroup and put it back up. Otherwise, I just never even noticed that it's there. Except for once I did get hit in the back from a rider and I felt that it was there. Like I could feel the back of the helmet being supported by that thing, just that brief instant. And so kind of told me that in a more violent moment, it might be something I'd like to have.
Absolutely. The ship pilot says, or asks, is the Pan Am faster than the BMW GS Adventure? And you've ridden both, so I thought this would be a perfect question for you.
I never timed myself, and I don't tend to think of adventure bikes as being something that we're...
Which one feels faster? There's no way.
They're about the same power to weight ratio, I think, at this point. Different drives. So apparently a final drive, like on the BMW, robs a little more horsepower than a chain drive, which Harley's a chain drive, traditional chain drive, right? I don't know, folks. I might have to say that it depends on the rider and the situation, which one's more faster.
All right. I'm taking the middle way out. I see.
Yeah, okay. How can I give an answer unless I've actually clocked the quarter mile a few times?
Yeah, true. Next question from How Jouse 5131. Do you train people to train? Do you have suggestions for someone who wants to make adventure riding into a job?
Absolutely. We don't just say, oh, you know how to ride a motorcycle? Great. Teach these people. It's not, it's about all agreeing upon things like body position, the techniques and things that we cover in our training. It's a repeated curriculum that we're training people on, core fundamentals, for example, like in the ADV 1 course. And so we have to, confirm one's ability to communicate these things. Like ultimately there's like a job shadowing process where
I saw a few of them out there last summer.
Would come along and be part of one of our training sessions, and then from there kind of move on to eventually becoming an assistant and becoming a training instructor. But yeah, it's definitely training for the job for sure.
How Jiao asked another question to follow up. What is expected skills to lead tours like you do? You can ride a motorcycle.
Yeah, that's a pretty big one if you want to be a motorcycle tour guide.
It gets pretty involved though, because I know tour guiding, you also have to have a very keen sense of where everyone is and what they're doing and how they're riding, what their ability is, how much you can push them, how much you don't, you need to, where the level, what's going to be the best fit for everyone, because everybody comes in kind of different experiences, different,
many factors involved with running a group tour in remote places, and not necessarily knowing everybody in advance. And all of a sudden we meet, and now you've got some people that know each other, but some strangers. I would say it's got to, in addition to your ability to ride a motorcycle, and great if you enjoy doing that, it's got to be, the awareness that there are other people that are ultimately paying for the assistance of a guide on a tour, and finding a way to make sure that their trip is as enjoyable as possible, safely finishing. So there's so much between, depending on what country it is, having to speak that language, be bilingual, how to fix bikes, how to deal with local authorities if that ever comes up. There's so much that goes on with running a tour. Be a very well-rounded person who is, yes, you enjoy riding yourself, but you enjoy showing other people a good time as much as showing yourself a good time.
Next question. Sadness Inside 123 asks, what tire ratio do you use for rentals?
Tire ratio, as in tread pattern ratio, probably they mean?
Yeah.
Almost every tire we've been using for like mostly a 50-50 type tire.
50-50.
It's basically because people are coming to us because they want to spend at least half their trip in the dirt or something like that. And so it just makes sense to have a bike that handles both pavement and dirt pretty well.
That was a pretty easy one.
Yeah, thanks.
That one worked out.
I was feeling good about it too.
Yeah. The Dirt Life Supreme asks, dude, how big are you?
Well, dude, I guess you don't want actual numbers, I guess. I used to be 6'3", I think.
He says how big he is, so
I think at least one of those discs down there is probably just about gone. So I might be closer to 6'2" and maybe 240 at this point. But that question comes up a lot because people have seen those videos and wonder, okay, which they want to fit their own selves to the right bike and stuff like that. So I get the question why. Yeah,
I feel like a lot of those questions come up in the CB500X videos you do because you look like a giant on that thing.
And I've told people it's a bike. I love and adore the bike, but it's not one I ride. It's just not something that matches up.
I think that's a question coming up too.
The other important thing, people say, how tall and how heavy are we? Okay, the other thing is your inseam. Like, we are all built differently. I mean, there are people with long legs and short torsos, long torsos and short legs, right? It's like I'm sort of a short-legged guy, and so I can actually kind of barely reach over some of these tallest adventure bikes with a 35-inch seat or whatever they are. So it's also about how wide the bike is, but I'm a 32-inch inseam. Last I checked.
Yeah. So next question by 1J Murray. What's up with those kids dousing you with water? This is Thailand, obviously.
Yeah. That's that awesome experience. Songkran, the Thai New Year.
Yeah.
Over in Thailand, middle of April, 12th, 13th, 14th, something like that. The way the locals I got to know explained it to me was that hottest time of the year, part of the Buddhist mentality or the idea is to keep a cool body. So you keep a cool mind. And a cool mind is that part of that Buddhist philosophy. Pardon if I'm butchering Buddhism, but along those lines somewhere, that they're keeping each other cool. And what a cool celebration that is. 3 days. I have to admit that before I ever went over there and I was, contemplating, do I want to do this during the hottest month of the year? And do I want to deal with all the water dousing and stuff like that? I was a little skeptical about it. Ended up having that time of one of my favorite trips ever. Just so much fun. Everyone's in good spirits and just everyone's relaxed. Yeah, great time.
All right, next question is from BPID4CQ. He asks, are you guys considering of running ADV training in other cities such as San Diego?
Actually, San Diego is high on our list right now because we do so much down in Baja that it kind of makes sense. So yes, in fact, I announced earlier this year after our first successful season doing ADV motorcycle training, requests are there for us to do this other places. And so, so it's a little more accessible for people.
Vegas.
Currently Bend and Vegas area, and then
some more
on many other locations as we can make sense of and organize properly.
All right. Oscar Sheen 3045 asks, at 6'3", what bike does Ride Adventures prefer for himself instead of the CB500X?
Is my name Ride Adventures?
Your name is Ride Adventures. You are Ride Adventures.
What's my bike of choice?
Yeah, what's your bike of choice?
In the touring and renting business, I have a huge place in my heart for the most reliable bikes. So for a day trip when I don't have to pack up luggage or worry about much on the bike, but I do want like a twin cylinder adventure bike, day trip, Tenere 700. It's a little more playful, a little more likely to handle some single track type stuff if you want. If I've got to pack up, put luggage on the bike and go for multiple days, Africa Twin Adventure Sports is my choice right now.
Next question. Anthony Joe says, which bike do you recommend for men with small legs? I tried the F800 GS. Very good handling, only on the back of my feet, cannot touch the ground the same time. Thanks for the reply. Let's focus on the recommend for men with small legs. What is your recommendation for men with small legs?
So the other, I don't know what small is, but if the F800 GS is too tall for somebody, for example, well, what about the F700 750 GS? Right, it's about a full 2 inches shorter, I think.
Oh, there you go.
KTM 890 standard. I think the V-Strom is still down there pretty low. 650 is around 32.5 inches. Honda CB500X, 32.7 inches or whatever in the seat. Get yourself away from the want to be on the big, tall bike. Find yourself on a bike that you fit on and stand over and can dab and keep yourself up on comfortably. And the fun factor will go up for you. You're going to take nervousness out of the equation. Maybe your bike isn't the biggest one in the group on Saturday morning. Who cares? You will be faster and have more fun riding a bike that's appropriately sized for you, the individual.
I think I lost my voice.
Oh, wow. You've been at this for so long. Get this man a beer.
M. Wilsh Batch. Hey, Eric, question on a different topic. What is the brand and model of your eyeglasses? I think is it the ones that you're wearing right now?
Yeah, I think it's a Nike. I don't remember the model name necessarily, but it's made by Nike, I'm quite sure. I can't see without them on. I can't see.
They're transition lens though, right?
So they darken on their own, and they're also like prescription progressively.
Oh, no way.
Definitely a Nike Adrenaline, maybe I think they're called.
Okay. He's looking for his next set of ADV ridings eyeglasses.
That's a better question. I would not suggest these for riding in a helmet. It's a Nike glass. The frame size and the what do you call it? The earpieces or whatever. Definitely not as comfortable as there are a couple of brands that are making like kind of motorcycle or helmet specific brands out there that have these super thin earpieces that you wouldn't even be bothered by after a long day of having them. So these are not, I would not say maybe they fit in your helmet and head just fine, but find something with a real thin earpiece for comfort reasons because a thick earpiece can get pretty annoying.
Yeah, I've been through a couple of those and it's a pain. It's a weird pain. It's like you take off your helmet. It's almost like, having your helmet hair. You know what I mean? Like
that weird little ache.
Yeah. Weird little ache. All right. Jose Lopez. Should kickstands be down or up when on a pickup bed?
Up.
Excellent.
We saw it here recently. A rider showed up with his bike on a trailer, and he had the kickstand down the whole 800 miles or whatever to get here. KTM 390 Adventure, and that kickstand was kind of all folded out and janked up from ultimately just bouncing on the trailer just a little bit, and you will bend, or you could bend that kickstand. So put that kickstand up when it's strapped to any vehicle.
Lepardiers. Oh, that's a tough one to say. Would you recommend armor with a Keith Mandu jacket or just a jacket with built-in armor?
Keith Mandu.
Oh, Keith is our buddy. Yeah. Maybe I'm getting confused there. Cat Mandu.
Depending on how they spelled it, maybe it looks like Keith Mandu.
No. It's totally me.
All right, nice. This one's on Garrett. So back to Cat Mandu. What was the question?
Well,
again?
basically just wearing. It sounds like a soft shell jacket is essentially what it is, right? So it's like, would you recommend armor and then having a soft like shell jacket over top, or an actual ADV jacket with built-in armor, or a jacket in general with built-in armor?
Yeah, so I've been a big fan of the separate shell system forever now. Like I prefer we've done videos on this, the body armor first, and then if I want to put the shell on over that, that's just a waterproof outer shell, Gore-Tex or whatever. Doesn't have to be Gore-Tex. It could be any one of those waterproofs, but yeah. Yeah,
well, if you really think about it, it just kind of makes sense that is the armor going to be where it needs to be when you impact? Yeah. And what's the likelihood, right? So you have a higher chance if you're actually wearing, like those protective jackets. It's not a protective jacket; it's
armor jacket.
We have footage of it. Versus, a kind of those loose jackets with just like the padding, in the right spots. Like
I think a lot of jackets with the armor built in have like probably a cinching strap or two, or some way that you can kind of tighten it down and make it keep those elbow pads in place. I think most companies are making a good solution for that now. So for me, the bigger thing is the wider range of temperature comfort I have by being able to shed that jacket. It's the hottest of the hot, and I don't want that outermost layer keeping me even hotter. I can take that outer shell off, have all the wind flow in the world. I'm just riding with armor at that point. And there are points where skin abrasion could still get me or whatever if I went down, but at least I haven't like talked myself into completely removing my padding by taking the whole jacket off. Yeah. And now I'm in big trouble if I go down.
All right, next question. Andrew Soldan, 6050. What is the best time of year to ride Baja? It's a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people don't understand how winter kind of gets cold down there.
It can inspire at altitude on El Compadre Trail in the north or whatever. Yeah, we've seen snow and ice a couple of times in February, middle of winter. So Northern Hemisphere, January, February, definitely the coldest months. You can ride Baja pretty comfortably year round. It sort of depends a little bit on the elevation like that, like we said. And then, midsummer inland away from the coast. I think I don't know the weather stats, but it's getting a little warm. Staying along the coast, you get that ocean effect. So it's not too bad, maybe 80s or 90s Fahrenheit, I would say I would probably avoid July and August just because of the sheer possibility of heat being a little bit high.
Yeah. And then there's some hurricanes that come through. You have a time sensitive trip that might put a kink in it. Rob on Enduro. Nice. But how about Banditos and safety in general? How many of your riders have been kidnapped for ransom? I think this is a joke. He put a winky face.
So many I lost count, right? And yet we keep doing this.
Yeah.
Was it in reference to any particular area?
Just Baja in general. It was from a Baja video.
Yeah. Very fortunately, the stereotypes of certain countries south of the U.S. border, the stereotypes are not necessarily accurate. So much time down there. Some of our teammates live down there. It's like anywhere in the world that if you go looking for trouble, you can find it.
Yeah.
Your chances of actually running into the bandito that wants to harm you or something like that, very, very slim.
All right. Catherine N. Legger. She's 5'5", 30-inch inseam. Is the CB500X too small?
Catherine, I would think you're probably the prototypical rider for that bike.
Yeah.
I can't comment honestly on the leg length, although you should be plenty tall enough to stand over it, I think.
30-inch inseam.
5'5", 30-inch. If I'm 32.
I'm 30-inch.
You're 30? And
yeah.
No problem standing over the... Yeah, I would think it's going to be a great fit.
Riandre Winnar 5040. Is the Yamaha Tenere 700 better than the KLR?
It is what I said was the middle of all bikes.
More than the KLR?
More than the KLR? I mean, now we're splitting hairs here. It's like kind of like the KLR is what, 50 pounds lighter?
Yeah, and the KLR is more dual sport as opposed to ADV bike. If we were to categorize motorcycles in that way.
More dual sport. Like I guess the KLR being slightly lighter.
More off-road oriented.
Might be slightly better for dirt and closer to single track type situations. If you want to ride in that direction, if you want to make sure you're getting more intricate and dirty, the lighter bike is probably going to be the better of the two.
All right, next question. Hey, Eric, thanks for the great video. What's your take on the airbag?
The airbag?
Like airbag systems for
inflating
the airbag jacket.
Yeah, so I haven't had to use one or find out if they work or not.
They're getting cheaper now.
Are they?
I see a few that are like, oh, that's kind of getting more into my price range. I'm like thinking about it. It's like,
If deployed and working the way it's supposed to, I'd probably much rather have it than not. Are they going to work in your situation? I mean, what's the cost of it compared to the cost of our bodies and hospital trips and stuff like that? I think it's probably a great idea. I don't know yet of which is the best.
Don't want to go to the hospital, that's for sure. Next question. Very good information. Do you run any tours in Vegas area?
Yes, we do. You there? Yes, we are running a new tour we launched just about earlier this year, I think. Spirit of the Southwest starts and finishes in Vegas and hits some amazing highlights in the southwest of the U.S.
Actually, there was a recent trip. Just
finished a group a couple weeks ago, and it's one of those jaw droppers. It's one of those beautiful things that reminds you there's only one place in the world that looks like that. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of beauty around the world, but there's only one southwestern U.S. There's only one southern Utah.
The Trailway Children. Do you ever get solo travelers joining on your tours with other groups of riders?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of why we offer group trips is that not only does, perhaps rider safety come in, you don't want to ride alone, and that having a buddy at least out there is often a good idea in case something happens, but also just a lot of fun to meet like-minded people from around the world perhaps that are all on the same, riding mission and out to relax and have fun. And so group trips are a great way to
that's one of the great.
It's fun to see too how many times over the years somebody has, people have met on a trip and then they go and do other trips together.
Yeah, cool. No, it's really cool. Yeah, they're like, anytime you want to ride, let me know. And then months down, they figure out a way just to kind of reconnect and go on a ride, like even in their backyard. If they find out, oh, I'm from Arizona too, and then all of a sudden they're like best Arizona riding buddies.
Yeah, that does happen.
I've seen that quite a bit.
People meet on a tour in some foreign country, and turns out they're from the same hometown. Of course, they would have never met. And so, in a world that it's maybe getting harder and harder to meet people and find groups and stuff like that, it seems it's a great way.
Group tours are a great way to meet the riders. We are on our last question.
Oh,
so we've made it.
I hope I get this one right.
We've made it. The 333 asks, does JB Weld really work? I ordered some. What say you? This was from your 12 essential items for solo adventure motorcycle riders.
I would say yes.
Yeah.
It really does work. Of course, it's a matter of how well does it work. Does it have the structural integrity of like the original steel that you're trying to replicate? That's a different question.
In a pinch, when you're out on the road, it's good to have.
Gotten many people through many situations.
Yeah.
In that, I would say it's kind of amazing that something can be sort of liquefied, put into a tube like that, and within minutes or whatever, turn into steel or whatever compound that it is that saves the day. It's kind of amazing that we can do that without melting that, through temperature, just room temperature, plastic tube, squirt.
Done.
Amazing stuff.
Get you out of a pinch.
Nice job, JB.
That was all the questions. That was the Q&A with Eric Lange, talking about all of his experience in the adventure motorcycle world. And
well, you helped answer some of those questions, didn't you?
Thanks for joining us.
This guy's got a lot of experience too.
Thank me as well for joining.
A lot of almost moments, by the way. All that riding you've done, I love it. Every once in a while you've caught like a whoa, almost that left-hand curve. I think it was in Baja. Yeah. Wow, you almost went down and saved it.
Yeah, one of the amazing things about being a motorcycle videographer is being able to capture all those moments, good or not.
Like when you went face first into the cactus in Baja, and actually didn't you get a thorn in the cheek or whatever because your visor was open or whatever?
Yeah, riding without without goggles and with my
With the
visor up.
visor up. Good
Yeah.
reminder not to, folks, when you're riding amongst the cactuses of all things, the things you wouldn't think would happen. But
Hey, those are all the lessons you learn, right? We have more opportunities, more videos to make. People can ask anything they want. And yeah, we'll be back here in the studio doing another Q&A one day.
feel free to ask questions if you got them.
Cool.
Thanks, everyone.